Have you ever felt like you don't truly own your home, even after buying it? If you're a leaseholder, then you probably know exactly what I mean. The clock is ticking on your lease from day one of ownership, and the thought of things like ground rent, service charges, lease extensions, it can be a bit daunting. But what if I told you there's a powerful legal tool that can give you back control, potentially saving you a good amount of money, and at the same time, adding serious value to your property? Stick around because today we're demystifying the Section 42 notice. This is your secret weapon in the world of leasehold property. Hey everyone, I'm Josh from Short Lease Property Sales. We are the estate agency specializing in flats with short leases. Welcome back to the channel. Today's topic is absolutely crucial for anyone owning a leasehold property, especially if you have a short lease. We're going to be diving deep into the Section 42 notice, what it is, how it works, and some of the benefits of using it as well. You might have heard about it, but a lot of leaseholders just don't fully grasp what it is and how powerful it can be. It's not just some obscure legal document. It is your formal way of telling your landlord, I want to extend my lease and I'm serious about it. So, what exactly is a Section 42 notice? In simple terms, it's a formal statutory notice served by a qualifying leaseholder, and we'll cover that later, served by a qualifying leaseholder on their freeholder, expressing the desire to extend their lease. And it's not just a polite request, it is a legally binding document. This is under the Leasehold Reform, Housing and Urban Development Act from 1993. This act gives you, the leaseholder, the right to extend your lease by an additional 90 years on top of your current unexpired term, and at the same time, reduce the ground rent to a peppercorn. What's peppercorn ground rent? That effectively means zero. If you want to learn more about ground rent, including peppercorn ground rent, I'll be covering this in another video on the channel, so you can subscribe and get the notifications when that's uploaded. And also you can check it out on the blog on the website. I will put a link in the description below. If you think of a Section 42 notice, the starting point is kicking off the official negotiation process for your new lease. Without this notice, your freeholder, they aren't legally obliged to even consider a lease extension request. So this is your official declaration of intent, and it's the first step in securing your leasehold future in that flat, especially again, if you've got a short lease, but it can be valuable if you already have a longer lease as well. Now, why is it so incredibly important? There are huge benefits here. I'm going to cover the top 5. There may be others depending on your situation, but these are the top 5 best benefits. Number 1, an increased property value. A short lease, it significantly depreciates your property's value. Extending it with a Section 42 notice can add tens or even hundreds of thousands of pounds to your property's value. In some cases, we're talking very high values in London, it can even add over £1 million onto your property value. The second thing is it makes it easier to sell. Trying to sell a property with a short lease, especially when you get under 80 years, can be a problem. Lenders are hesitant to lend, and as a result, buyers are also put off. A longer lease, therefore, makes your property far more attractive and mortgageable and eliminates those problems. The third is it gets rid of ground rent. Imagine never paying ground rent again. For some of you, you might only be paying £10 a year. Anyway, for others, especially modern ground rents where they can go over £1,000, that's a problem for selling and for mortgage lenders as well. Then this is going to be a huge impact for you. So with the statutory lease extension, your ground rent becomes a peppercorn, and that effectively is zero ground rent or £1 a year. This can save you money, but also increase the marketability of your property if you're thinking about selling. The fourth benefit is peace of mind. You don't have to worry about your lease running out, at least not for another 90 years longer than what you've got. And also, the lower your lease gets, the more the cost is to extend it. That cost of extension goes up as your lease gets shorter. With the Section 42 notice, with the lease extension, you get a guaranteed long-term interest in your home by adding that additional 90 years. And then the fifth is protection against premium hikes. I mentioned this already. By serving this notice, you freeze the valuation date for the payment you'll pay on the date that you serve the notice. That's important if you're trying to do it in the near future, but also, as I mentioned, the lower your lease gets, the more expensive it is to extend. It protects you from future market changes or the lease getting shorter and then the extension getting more expensive. Essentially, if we bucket this up, Section 42 notice is your ticket to transforming what can be a depreciating asset, especially at the lower lease levels, back into a valuable, marketable, and a bit less stressful home. Now, next steps. That's what a Section 42 notice is. That's how it can help. We'll talk a bit about who qualifies for a Section 42 notice. So can anyone just serve a Section 42 notice? Not quite. There are some specific qualifying criteria you'll need to meet. The first is that you need to have a long lease. And what that means is your original lease must have been granted for more than 21 years. And that will cover the vast majority of residential leasehold flats and houses. So in theory, you hopefully will be covered under this. Second is the type of property. It must be a private residence and not part of a larger commercial premises or solely commercial in itself. It must be primarily residential and there can't be a business tenancy with it. We are talking about residential leases, not business leasehold, not business leases here. And it's important to note, just in case you're in an unusual situation here, the freeholder doesn't need to live in the property. You as a leaseholder don't need to live in a property. It doesn't matter if you own multiple properties as well. As long as this property we're talking about meets these specific requirements, then you should qualify. If you're unsure, it's always best to get expert advice. We're experts in this. You can contact us, but also there are leasehold solicitors out there as well who can help also. Right. So if you've served the Section 42 notice, that's the first step in this journey, but it's not the end. It's just the beginning of what is a structured legal process that you'll follow. Here's a breakdown of what typically happens next. Second thing you're going to get is a freeholder's response. Your freeholder has a specified time, which is normally 2 months from the date they receive your notice, to serve a counter notice. That's called a Section 45. In this counter notice, they'll state whether they admit your right to a lease extension, which hopefully they will if you've qualified as we've just talked through, and their proposed premium if they don't agree with your proposal on what you put on the Section 42 for how much you want to pay for the lease extension, and any other terms that they may want to put on the lease. Following this, you can then enter into a negotiation period, assuming your freeholder comes back with a higher price than what you served, which is almost inevitable in most cases. This is where you get some back and forth. It's between you and your freeholder, or more likely your respective solicitors or surveyors, and they will negotiate, or you will negotiate, the premium and any other terms on the new lease. This can be the longest part of the process, and there is, as I said, that sort of back and forth. You will, by this point, have an understanding of the premium you think you should pay, taking into account sort of the remaining lease and the ground rent and the property value. And that value would have gone on when you served your Section 42 notice. The freeholder will also have their own view on how much this is expected to be. And therefore, if those don't align, that's when this negotiation period comes in. If you can't reach a consensus after negotiation and you're still debating over the lease extension price, then you can refer it over to a tribunal. If an agreement can't be reached between yourselves, then either of you can apply, either you or your freeholder can apply to the first tier tribunal, the property chamber. This tribunal will then make a binding decision for both of you on what that lease extension cost is going to be. Once the cost is decided, then you run through to the legal completion. The draft lease will be written, your solicitor will review it, the seller's solicitor will make any amendments, and you can have a little negotiation here on terms in the lease as well. Ultimately, you're aiming for long lease term, low ground rent, and probably fairly similar terms to what you've got in your current lease. Once that lease has been drafted and approved, then the solicitors will complete the legal formalities. That means registering your new lease with the land registry and confirming to everyone that you have that new lease on there. It's a process that requires a bit of patience. It can be lengthy, especially if you have a long negotiation period, especially more so if you do need to go to tribunal. But ultimately, it's a nice, set, structured, rigid process. So you know what's going to happen the whole way through. With a bit of professional guidance, you can obviously discuss what might be the outcome in your situation. But overall, it might take a bit of time, but it should be well worth it. Right. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. If you've got any questions, as I said, on any of this, we are experts in it. You may have a solicitor who's an expert in it, or also a valuer. You can get in touch with us at any point and ask us any questions. Okay, so the process can be complex, but ultimately it is fairly smoothly laid out. It's a fairly smooth process to follow because you have those rigid structures of all the different next steps. However, it's probably not something you want to tackle alone. Generally, you're going to want two key professionals on your side. The first I've mentioned already is a specialist leasehold solicitor. They negotiate the terms of the lease. They review the draft for you. They can serve the Section 42 notice if you don't want to do that yourself, or they can at least check and make sure it's being done correctly. You do have to serve it correctly. And then they'll handle all the legal correspondence with the freeholder solicitor and ensure that the new lease is properly submitted and registered, as I mentioned. Going back to the notice, if you serve it incorrectly, it can invalidate your claim. That can cost you time. It can also cost you more money as well. So getting that right first time around, definitely helpful. And then you might want to use a specialist leasehold valuer, someone who specializes in lease extensions, such as ourselves, can give you an estimate. We can talk through your options with you. However, also someone like a chartered surveyor can do this as well. It's crucial for determining a fair premium, which is the amount you're going to pay for the lease extension. Understanding the valuation methods used, you may get a concept yourself, but equally working with a professional can really help you here. Helps in that negotiation process as well. Again, you can do this yourself, but you may want to use a expert to do it on your behalf. You can try to do it without the professional help. Some people may have experience, but in general, if you've not got any experience, you could liken it to sort of trying to build a house without an architect or a builder on board. You can do it yourself. It's risky, it's costly, can lead to mistakes, and ultimately you might not get the outcome you want, or it may fall down on the first hurdle. So hopefully we're trying to avoid that. Getting expert advice early on can save you a bit of headache and a lot of money in the long run. So there you have it. In conclusion, Section 42 notice, it is a powerful tool for leaseholders, especially with a short lease, those looking to take control of their property future. It gives you that legal right to extend your lease, securing your investment in that property and achieving a better sense of home ownership with that longer lease at the end. Don't let a short lease dictate your property's value or your peace of mind. There's options to work through and options to help you. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. If you've got questions about Section 42 notices or lease extensions, you can put them in the comments, or you can get a hold of us through the Contact Us form on the website. I'll put a link to that in the description below as well. And if you want more practical property advice like this, especially for flats with short leases, then please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. For more in-depth information to talk about your specific situation and your options regarding short lease properties you may own, or maybe even you're considering buying, please visit the website, shortleasepropertysales.co.uk. I'll put the link in the description. We are here to help navigate the complexities and the difficulties of leasehold and hopefully make the best decisions for your journey. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.